What if death wasn't an end, but a doorway, and our final moments revealed a glimpse of something far greater than we've ever imagined? For Pam Reynolds, a routine surgery turned into a surreal odyssey beyond the physical world, challenging everything we think we know about life and the boundaries of consciousness. Hers is just one of many astonishing accounts that suggest when the brain shuts down, the mind might journey somewhere extraordinary. This is the mysterious realm of near-death experiences, where science, spirituality, and the human spirit collide. On a cool morning in 1991, Pam Reynolds, a 35-year-old singer-songwriter from Atlanta, Georgia, lay unconscious on an operating table at the Barrow Neurological Institute in Phoenix, Arizona. Her life hung by a thread. A giant aneurysm located dangerously close to her brainstem threatened to end her story prematurely. To save her, neurosurgeon Dr. Robert Spetzler undertook an unprecedented and high-risk procedure, a medically induced hypothermic cardiac arrest, colloquially known as a standstill operation. For a brief period during the 7-hour surgery, Pam was clinically dead. Her heart had stopped, her brain showed no activity, and the blood had been drained from her head. Yet it's during this impossible stillness that Pam claimed to experience something extraordinary, a journey beyond the limits of life and death. Her story is one of the most compelling cases in the study of near-death experiences, or NDEs, a phenomenon that's captivated scientists, spiritual seekers, and skeptics alike. Pam's account offers a glimpse into a realm that defies our understanding of consciousness and raises profound questions. What happens when we die? Is death an end or merely a transition? Near-death experiences are deeply personal and often life-altering events reported by individuals who have come perilously close to dying. Common elements of NDEs include feelings of detachment from the body, an overwhelming sense of peace, vivid encounters with a bright light, and reunions with deceased loved ones. While many accounts are positive, some are distressing, involving feelings of anguish or visions of voids and hellish landscapes. Pam Reynolds' experience aligns closely with the archetypal NDE. She described hearing a sound like a D-natural tone that seemed to pull her out of her body. Floating above the operating room, she observed the medical team working on her lifeless body. Pam recounted details that seemed improbable for someone in her condition, including the appearance of a surgical saw, which she likened to an electric toothbrush, an accurate observation. Later, she described being drawn towards a light and encountering deceased relatives, including her grandmother and uncle. The reunion was joyous, suffused with feelings of love and security. But her journey ended abruptly when her uncle told her it was not her time and pushed her back into her body. The sensation, she said, was like jumping into ice water. Pam's case is far from isolated. In a 2011 study published in the Annals of New York Academy of Sciences, researchers estimated that approximately 9 million Americans have reported NDEs. Worldwide, studies suggest that up to 20% of people who come close to death experience an NDE. These experiences, regardless of their cultural context, often include strikingly similar themes, hinting at something universal in their occurrence. The near-death experience is a crossroads where science, spirituality, and philosophy converge. Neuroscientists propose that NDEs may be the result of physiological and chemical changes in a dying brain. Hypoxia, or a lack of oxygen, hypercarbia, increased carbon dioxide, and the release of endorphins have all been suggested as potential explanations. The dying brain hypothesis, championed by researchers like Susan Blackmore, posits that NDEs are hallucinations caused by neural activity as the brain shuts down. Yet some aspects of NDEs remain challenging to explain. Pam Reynolds' case is often cited by proponents of an afterlife because it occurred during a period when her brain was reportedly non-functional. Critics, however, argue that her experiences could have occurred during the early stages of anesthesia when her brain was still active. Dr. Gerald Worley, an anesthesiologist, attributed Pam's observations to anesthesia awareness, suggesting that she might have perceived sounds and sensations despite being unconscious. Pam's supporters, including cardiologist Dr. Michael Sabam, counter that her accurate descriptions of surgical instruments and procedures, events she could not have known about in advance, lend credibility to her account. They see her experience as evidence of consciousness existing independently of the brain. The phenomenon of the near-death experience is not new. Historical accounts of visions during brushes with death stretch back centuries. In 1892, Swiss geologist Albert Heim documented vivid life reviews and serene visions reported by climbers who survived near-fatal falls. French psychologist Victor Egger describes similar experiences as l'expérience de mort imminente, or experience of imminent death. In modern times, psychiatrist Dr. Raymond Moody popularized the term near-death experience in his 1975 book, Life After Life. Moody's work inspired researchers like Bruce Grayson, who developed a standardized NDE scale to measure the depth of these experiences. Grayson's findings suggest that NDEs transcend cultural and religious boundaries, though interpretations often reflect personal beliefs. For instance, a Christian might describe encountering angels, while a Hindu might see messengers of Yama, the god of death. As these accounts entered the public consciousness, they began to reshape how we view death. Books, documentaries, and first-hand testimonies have woven near-death experiences into the fabric of modern spirituality, creating a shared language to explore one of life's greatest mysteries. Pam Reynolds' story is not the only one to challenge our understanding of life and death. Julia Fisher, a Viennese woman, experienced an NDE at the age of 6 after a cerebral hemorrhage left her in intensive care. Julia described floating above her hospital bed, observing herself and the medical equipment with detached clarity. She recalled an overwhelming silence, unlike anything on Earth, and moving towards a bluish-white light. A disembodied voice asked if she wanted to continue, but thoughts of her parents pulled her back. Like Pam, Julia reported a heightened sensitivity to emotions and energies after her experience. She described humanity as a symbiosis of mortal and immortal beings and believed death to be a transition rather than an end. Her perspective mirrors themes often reported in NDEs: a newfound appreciation for life, reduced fear of death, and an intensified spiritual awareness. Julia's case also highlights how such experiences can deeply shape the life trajectory of those who undergo them. After her recovery, she became passionate about exploring spiritual philosophies, eventually training as a kinesiologist to integrate these insights into her work. Her story underscores how NDEs often transform survivors, equipping them with a renewed sense of purpose. For decades, researchers have grappled with the question of whether NDEs are evidence of an afterlife or the final tricks of a dying brain. Dr. Jeffrey Long, a radiation oncologist and founder of the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, has studied over 5,000 NDE accounts. He argues that the consistency of these experiences across culture and ages suggest a reality beyond material existence. Children as young as 5 who have had no prior exposure to cultural narratives of death report experiences strikingly similar to adults. Long's findings challenge traditional notions of consciousness. In his view, the detailed and vivid perceptions reported during NDEs, often at times when brain function appears to have ceased, indicate that consciousness may operate independently of the physical brain. This perspective has profound implications, suggesting that our understanding of life and death is far from complete. Skeptics like psychologist Chris French remain cautious. French points out that many NDEs can be explained by known psychological and physiological mechanisms. He notes that the vividness of memories and their alignment with personal expectations could result from the brain's efforts to make sense of a traumatic event. Meanwhile, quantum physicist Dr. Robert Lanza offers a radical perspective through his theory of biocentrism. He suggests that consciousness is not confined to the brain, but exists independently, much like quantum particles exist in a state of possibility. In this view, death is not an end, but a shift to another reality, akin to waking from a dream. Beyond the scientific debate, NDEs resonate deeply because they touch on fundamental human fears and hopes. Death is the ultimate mystery, and stories like Pam Reynolds offer a glimmer of reassurance. Even skeptics can't deny the profound impact these experiences have on those who live through them. Pam Reynolds often spoke about how her NDE transformed her. She described feeling a greater connection to others and an enduring sense of purpose. Similarly, Julia Fisher's brush with death led her to explore spirituality and train as a kinesiologist, integrating her heightened sensitivity into her work. Not all after effects are positive, however. Some NDE survivors struggle with reintegration, feeling alienated by the inability to convey their experiences to others. Others grapple with the existential implications, questioning the nature of reality itself. These struggles highlight the psychological complexity of NDEs, even as they inspire awe and curiosity. As technology advances, researchers continue to probe the boundaries of life and death. The AWARE study, led by Dr. Sam Parnia, represents one of the most ambitious attempts to explore the mysteries of consciousness during cardiac arrest. This large-scale, multi-center study involved placing hidden images in hospital rooms, visible only from an elevated vantage point, to test whether patients reporting out-of-body experiences could accurately describe the images. While results have so far been mixed, with few patients able to provide corroborative details, the study has sparked a wave of interest in scientifically validating aspects of NDEs. Dr. Parnia's findings suggest that a small percentage of cardiac arrest survivors report verifiable perceptions and sensations during periods when brain activity should have been minimal or non-existent. One notable case involved a patient who accurately described the resuscitation process in vivid detail, including specific equipment and actions taken by the medical team. This patient's observations were later confirmed by staff, adding to the intrigue surrounding NDEs. Beyond the AWARE study, other researchers have explored the neurological underpinnings of these phenomena. Advances in neuroimaging and electrophysiology have begun to shed light on how the brain behaves during extreme trauma. For instance, studies have detected sudden surges of gamma brain waves during cardiac arrest, activity associated with heightened consciousness and vivid memories. Could these neural bursts be responsible for the vivid, otherworldly experiences reported by many NDE survivors? Or do they represent the brain's final efforts to make sense of its impending shutdown? Meanwhile, the philosophical implications of NDEs continue to provoke debate. If consciousness can exist independently of the brain, as some cases seem to suggest, what does this mean for our understanding of self, identity, and existence? For now, the search for answer continues, bridging the gap between science and spirituality in an effort to unravel one of humanity's greatest mysteries.